I love those old pictures like this. Everybody looks like they were, just posing for the pictures, eh?
Is that going on with Bob Shorts?
Yep.
Holy Jesus.
That's going to be Bob Short's
Yeah.
going out that side there, right up to the point. Just Rose's Cliff in the background.
A lot of history here.
We're in Conception Bay North to solve a mystery. Along this coast, there's a string of towns. They're small, they're old, and everywhere you go, you see glimpses of the past. Now, that past has resurfaced unexpectedly. Rare photographs of rural Newfoundland from over 100 years ago, and they were found in an unlikely place, Ontario.
I was in a little town called Elmvale. Picked up this lot of like 30 cards. They didn't have any mass-produced stamp on them, which many of the cards do. They are originals. Those ones were glued by hand, side by side. So I just turned them over and handwritten on some of the cards, not all of them, but some of them were these clues. Western Bay and Follett family. Stereoscope cards are images that were taken with a camera that had two lenses side by side, and so the photographs are the same image but taken just about an inch apart. When you put it in a little machine, then those images, your eyes automatically pull them together the way our eyes do any image. They pull them together and it becomes 3D. There are images of this fishing village and its livelihood of going out in the boats and bringing back the catch. It's images of a life and of the construction of a community, because the church is just being built. It showed me what was going on in a world that's long behind us now. Maybe someone would recognize some of the faces in these photographs that are just classic, beautiful, beautiful pictures of people. I love when there's people in the photographs, and I love when it's just what was going on. It allows you to, because they're 3D, it creates this interesting kind of connection between the viewer and the person in the photograph. It makes them come alive. And part of it creates a bit of sadness in me, because I think that they really belong to the family, and I would like the family to be able to reconnect with their relatives in some way. And this, man, that would be amazing to see a 3D picture of your grandmother. There's no identification who the photographer was. I'd love to know. The person who came to that community had a very special camera. The photographer was a cutting-edge person, someone who was trying to capture the world in the same way that an artist would say, oh, Western Bay is so beautiful, I'm going to paint the coastline. Someone went to Western Bay and thought, this is something that the world needs to see.
But these old photos disappeared from the world until now. Who are these people? Where are they standing? What's there now? Who can figure that out? We're here to ask for help.
I'm Dave King, and we're here in Brockhoff right now.
And where are we sitting?
In downtown Brockhoff, in my garage.
You call this downtown?
Downtown. The shed here is basically a place where most of us that grew up together, we all hangs out to Friday night, Saturday, and anything on the go, any parties or anything is always here in the garage. I'd say our family is one of the original people that sat in Brockhoff. The Kings and the LeGros were some of the first people that sat in this community. I'm fascinated with all the history around here.
Why?
I want to know how we got here, why we came here, and how come we ended up staying here.
And so when did you start looking into things?
Oh, a long time ago. Long time. I've been at this for years, looking and researching, asking questions. All the old people, I like picking their brain, asking the questions. Just to see the way people lived years ago. It's crazy, people years ago. There's no lights, there's no electricity. I'd estimate, in my guess, 1904, 1905, if they're all took in the same year. 1908 at the latest.
Dave loves this place. He didn't have to look long at the pictures to know exactly where some of them were taken. Woohoo! Ahoy! Where are you taking us to first?
Rockwell Church,
And that's the one that burned down?
that one there.
Okay, let's go take a look.
That's the church there that burned down. But that's built on the same spot. This is built in the same spot as the old church.
Yeah. And then this one was built, I guess, a few years after it burned down.
It wasn't long after it burned because people had to have their church.
Not anymore, though, I guess, eh?
No. Not today. You can see the church is all grown up.
Yeah.
Most of the churches here are closed. Right here. Now you're going up Woodcat Hill. Watch the view you're going to see when you get up there. As soon as you see the road, that's Broad Cove, there's no question.
So what do you think the people here were doing? Were they just fishing for the community? Were they selling it? Like, what do you think people were doing here at this beach?
I said they're getting water to wash fish. This guy here, he got a cast net. He's off those rocks right there with a cast net casting for capelin. That's the oldest picture of Broad Cove or Blackhead I've ever seen.
You've never seen a stereographed picture of Newfoundland.
No. Well, he had a camera back then. Not everybody had a camera. They were expensive to do back in 1900, 1902.
So you think this was someone from away?
Definitely.
No Newfoundlanders would have this.
Well, I doubt that they could afford it.
The house we're in right now, my grandfather built this in about 1920. Dad was born here. I grew up here. Oh, that's coming out. That's called Riverhead, right?
There's no road there.
No, that's washed out too.
Yeah.
What happened?
No, the sea erosion, right? Sea. Climate change, I suppose.
Do you remember driving down that road?
What?
Have you ever driven down that road? Do you
Oh
remember?
Lord, yes, yes. That's a picture of Blackhead getting capelin. You know, that kind of stuff then. When I was a kid, maybe 13, 14, believe it or not, I used to do that, yeah. That's the way I used to hold a net. It's just interesting to see how, years ago, how they worked. They had to work hard.
How many generations of your family have lived
I
here?
would say about four generations, my parents, my grandparents, and my great-grandparents. Well, when I grew up here in those days, that's what we did too. We would spend all our time, catching capelin, catching conners, catching flatfish off the wharf, spend all our time down there. It was beautiful. It was the most enjoyable time of your life. You were so carefree, and you never had a worry in the world, And I look back at it now and I said how wonderful times we had growing up as kids.
My maiden name is LeGros. The LeGros have been here in this vicinity, Broad Cove, Bailey Verde area, since the early 1700s.
What were summers like here?
It was a lot of fun. You know, we had friends here our same age. We would hike and try and catch capelin over in the capelin season in the beach and go on picnics and berry picking the things that kids did, in the outports. The smile on his face. They used them as fertilizer on their gardens.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah, the smell was hideous, but I mean they had to use what they had.
The people here recognize the landscape and have fond memories of this place, but nobody could identify anybody in the photographs.
No.
I don't recognize him, do you, Doug?
But we do have a clue. Nathaniel and Emily Follett. Everyone here knows each other, so it didn't take long for Dave to introduce us to Brent Follett, who lives down the road in Western Bay.
They call me the mayor. But I'm like Dave. Whenever there's something happening that needs to be done, I'm there.
How long has your family been here in this area?
Probably some of the first settlers. My family came from northern England and Wales. We traced that. We know that part. This church here, the last person buried in that church was my father.
What about these? So these on the back say Nathaniel and Emily Follett's house. Do you recognize that house or the people in it?
I don't ever recall seeing this in any of the houses, but this is that the steeple of the church there? This was probably taken from across the river here, facing this way.
Your last name Follett?
My
do
name
you?
is-
Yeah. Do you know? Do you recognize the name Nathaniel and Emily?
No, it's been a long time, but nobody kept the history.
Why do you love this place so much?
Just home, you know. And I know you feel different somehow. You smell the beach. There's a smell of money. It is. Some may fellas say, "Oh, that stink," but that's not a stink. That's perfume to us. I don't know where to steer you more. There's no Folletts other than some in Harbour Grace. A lot of them in Gander, I think, and like they're all over the world.
Bren doesn't recognize Nathaniel and Emily Follett, but we couldn't give up there, so we kept looking. And after finding old family records online, we found Peggy Halliburton back in Ontario.
My name is Peggy Halliburton, and I am the great-granddaughter of Emily and Nathaniel Follett. I was sort of in shock when I first heard that you had found a picture of my great-grandparents in front of their house in Western Bay. Nobody had cameras. This would have been taken just around the turn of the century. They were still in Newfoundland at the time. We're talking in 1910 or something, this picture would have been taken. Newfoundland was not part of Canada. It had more of a connection with England. People came out from England to take those photographs of the so-called Commonwealth. They'd go to South Africa, they'd go to Newfoundland, they'd go anywhere that there was a Commonwealth country, so that the people in England could see what these strange, unusual places were like. For that to be one of the stereoscopes of my grandparents really hit home. Nathaniel and Emily are the fourth generation Folletts in Western Bay. They grew potatoes and onions and carrots and root vegetables, along with fishing. And here he is fishing out on a schooner. My great-grandmother had the only cow in Western Bay, so she would have supplied anybody with small children that needed milk. Emily and Nathaniel were both born in Western Bay. They were very, very intelligent people, very smart people. They had 9 children. Of those 9 children, one was my grandmother, who was a missionary, a Methodist missionary. Her sister, Pamela, was also a Methodist missionary. Charlie was a well-known minister in Toronto, Reverend Charles Follett. Charles brought Nathaniel and Emily to Toronto in their very senior years, once he was up about 1913 or so, and Nathaniel only lived for a few years after that. They were brought up because healthcare and everything was better here in Ontario for them in those senior years as they waned. So all that family line of Nathaniel came up. They came up and they immediately tried to lose their accents, where they were from. They turned their back on it in order to be successful, to get jobs in Toronto and to assimilate. I've always loved history, and one day I was talking to my father, and he started telling me a lot more about his Newfoundland roots. And all of a sudden this light bulb went off. I've got to write this down. Right now I have 1,000 people plus in my Follett family tree. You want to know who you are, why you do the quirky things that you do. It's your ancestry, it's your genetic makeup. Yes, you're influenced by your environment too, but I've got Follett earlobes. Like, where the heck did those things come from? And once I started to see the pictures of these ancestors and the ones I knew, I'm going, my God, have they got earlobes? You know what I mean? And that's who I am.
So we solved some of the mystery, but we still can't put a name to many of these faces. And there's the other mystery. Who took these pictures? Whoever the photographer was didn't know these photos would be a time machine, connecting this place and the people who shaped it.
To me, it's important to know where I came from.
Preserve the legacy of the community itself, the history of the community.
Somebody's got to tell the stories.
It's your history, it's who you are.
Yes, yeah.
These are people who made me who I am.